I once thought I had everything figured out. 8 years of marriage to Sophia, a beautiful home in Seattle, and dreams of starting a family together. We had built what I thought was an unshakable foundation. But lately something had changed. Her unexplained absences, the distant look in her eyes when we talked about our future. Then came that fateful day when I returned home to find half our closet empty and a note that would shatter my world forever. Before I tell you how my entire life collapsed, and then how karma delivered the most unexpected justice, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and subscribe to hear more stories about relationships that changed lives forever. 10 years ago, I met Sophia at my college friend's wedding. She was the maid of honor, captivating everyone with her infectious laugh and intelligent conversation. I still remember how she looked that night, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders, wearing a deep blue dress that matched her eyes. We connected instantly over our shared love for travel and ambitious career goals. By the end of the night, I knew she was special. Our romance moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. Sophia was working as a marketing executive for an international company, and I was building my career as a software engineer. We complemented each other perfectly. She was outgoing and charismatic, while I was more thoughtful and analytical. Together, we felt unstoppable. 2 years after meeting, we had a beautiful ceremony at a vineyard outside Seattle. Our vows promised unwavering support through all of life's challenges. Little did I know how severely those vows would be tested. After the wedding, we bought our dream home in a quiet Seattle suburb. We spent weekends renovating it together, planning each room with care, even designating one as a future nursery. We talked constantly about starting a family, agreeing to begin trying after her upcoming promotion. Life seemed perfect. We took annual vacations to exotic locations, hosted dinner parties for our friends, and saved diligently for our future. I thought we were living the American dream. I thought we were happy. The first signs of trouble were subtle. About a year ago, Sophia began traveling more frequently for work. At first, it seemed normal. Her company was expanding into European markets, and as a senior marketing director, her presence was required for important meetings and events. But soon, the business trips increased from once every few months to almost weekly. When she was home, she seemed different, distant. Our conversations that once flowed easily became stilted and surface level. She stopped asking about my day and changed the subject whenever I brought up our plans to start trying for a baby. I noticed she was taking more calls in private, stepping outside or into another room, speaking in hushed tones. When I asked about these calls, she dismissed them as work-related, but her defensive tone said otherwise. She began buying new clothes, expensive brands I had never seen her wear before. Her entire appearance slowly transformed, with a new hairstyle, different makeup, and even subtle changes to her accent as she incorporated European phrases into her speech. Despite the growing knots in my stomach, I convinced myself everything was fine. I was just being paranoid. Sophia was focused on her career, and I needed to be supportive. We had built too much together for there to be any real problems. I ignored the warnings my instincts were screaming at me. Then came the day that changed everything. I was supposed to be at a 3-day conference in Portland, but the final day was canceled unexpectedly. I decided to surprise Sophia by coming home early, maybe with flowers and a reservation at her favorite restaurant. I thought it would help reconnect us. When I pulled into our driveway, everything seemed normal, but the moment I opened our front door, I felt it, the emptiness. The silence had a different quality to it, heavier somehow. I called out for Sophia, but received no answer. I walked upstairs to our bedroom and found the closet door open. Her side was half empty. Her favorite clothes, shoes, and luggage were gone. On our bed lay her wedding ring with a note that simply read, "I need to live my truth. Do not try to find me." The confusion and panic were immediate and overwhelming. I called her phone repeatedly, but it went straight to voicemail. I checked her social media accounts only to discover they had all been deactivated. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. I drove to her office in a daze, only to learn from her uncomfortable colleagues that she had taken an indefinite leave of absence the week before. No one would meet my eyes. Later, I would realize they all knew what was happening. I filed a missing person report that evening, though the officer looked skeptical when I showed him the note. "Sir, it seems like she left voluntarily," he said gently, but took the report anyway. In the days that followed, I reached out to all our mutual friends. Most seemed evasive, giving vague responses about respecting Sophia's privacy. Their awkwardness told me they knew more than they were saying. Desperate for answers, I began looking through our financial records. What I found shattered any remaining denial. Half of our savings had been withdrawn over the past 2 months. Small amounts at first, then larger sums culminating in a final withdrawal of nearly $50,000 3 days before she disappeared. Our fertility fund, which we had been building for years, was completely emptied. The final piece fell into place when I checked our shared laptop. In the deleted emails folder, I found messages between Sophia and someone named Marcus. The most recent one contained flight information to Barcelona and the address of a villa in the Spanish countryside. The message ended with, "Cannot wait to finally be together without hiding. Jay remains clueless." Jay, that was me, Josiah, the clueless husband. The revelation that my wife had not only abandoned me, but had been meticulously planning her escape for months, left me reeling. I needed concrete proof, something beyond deleted emails and missing clothes. With shaking hands, I contacted a private investigator who specialized in international cases. The cost was substantial, but I needed to know the full truth. Within 2 weeks, the PI confirmed my worst fears. He sent me photographs of Sophia and a tall, dark-haired man entering a luxury apartment building in Barcelona. They were holding hands, stopping occasionally to share intimate kisses. The man was Marcus Alvarez, her European boss. The same boss she had claimed was difficult to work with and constantly critical of her work. The same man who had supposedly been pushing her too hard with international assignments. The PI dug deeper and discovered their affair had been going on for over a year. What began as business trips had evolved into romantic getaways disguised as corporate events. Hotel receipts showed they had stayed together in Paris, Rome, and Madrid, all while I believed she was attending marketing conferences. Most devastating was learning that our fertility fund, the money we had saved for IVF treatments if needed, had been used to finance shopping sprees at luxury boutiques and gifts for Marcus. The betrayal was not just emotional but calculated and cruel. As this reality sank in, I fell into a depression, unlike anything I had experienced before. I took leave from work, unable to focus on coding, while my personal life imploded. Days blurred together as I alternated between rage, grief, and disbelief. I lost weight, stopped sleeping, and withdrew from what remained of our social circle. Word of Sophia's abandonment spread quickly through our community. People took sides. Some friends stood by me, bringing food and checking in regularly. Others distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the messiness of our situation, or loyal to Sophia's version of events, whatever that might be. The isolation intensified my shame and humiliation. The financial devastation soon became apparent as well. Beyond the emptied savings, I discovered massive credit card debt Sophia had accumulated in our joint names. Luxury purchases, cash advances, and first-class flights had maxed out 3 cards. Bills I knew nothing about began arriving daily. The worst revelation came when the bank contacted me about missed payments on a second mortgage. Somehow Sophia had forged my signature on a home equity line of credit 6 months earlier. She had withdrawn nearly $100,000 against our home, the home we had lovingly renovated together, planning for children and growing old together. With my income alone, I could not cover the combined mortgages. My perfect credit score plummeted. I began selling possessions just to stay afloat. My car went first, then my collection of vintage guitars, finally my grandfather's watch. Each sale felt like another piece of my identity stripped away. When I finally had the emotional strength to file for divorce, I learned that international divorces are complex and expensive. Sophia had retained an aggressive Spanish law firm, likely paid for with my money. They responded to my filing with shocking counterclaims, painting me as controlling and emotionally abusive. She claimed she had fled for her safety, a narrative completely at odds with our reality, but difficult to disprove from across an ocean. The legal battle dragged on for months. Discovery requests went unanswered or were delayed by procedural tactics. Every communication from her lawyers felt designed to drain my remaining resources and break my spirit. Then the photos arrived in my email. Sophia and Marcus on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Sophia showing off a new diamond bracelet. Both of them lounging by a private pool, drinking champagne, living a life financed with the future we had planned together. The message was clear: she had moved on to something better and wanted me to know it. I hit rock bottom the day I consulted with a bankruptcy attorney. Sitting in that sterile office listening to the attorney explain how I could discharge the debts Sophia had accumulated, but would likely lose the house in the process, I felt utterly defeated. Everything we had built was not just broken but poisoned. I wondered if I would ever recover. That evening, desperate for human connection, I attended a support group for divorced men at the community center. I had avoided such groups, feeling my situation was too raw, too unique for shared understanding. I sat quietly in the back, listening to others share their stories. After the meeting, a woman approached me. She introduced herself as Amanda, an attorney who sometimes provided legal advice to the group. Something about my silent presence had caught her attention. "You look like you are carrying the weight of the world," she said simply. The kindness in her voice broke something in me. Before I knew it, I was telling her everything, the words pouring out like a dam had broken. She listened without interruption, her expression shifting from concern to outrage as the full extent of Sophia's deception unfolded. When I finished, Amanda handed me her business card. She specialized in complex divorce cases involving financial fraud. "This is not just a divorce case," she said firmly. "This is fraud, identity theft, and possibly criminal. You need someone fighting specifically for these issues." I explained that I could barely afford my current attorney, let alone a specialist. Amanda studied me for a moment, then made an offer that would change everything. She would take my case pro bono. Something about the injustice of my situation had touched her. She believed Sophia should not profit from such calculated deception. With Amanda's expertise, we developed a strategic plan. The passive approach had failed. It was time to fight back, not out of vengeance, but to reclaim my life and dignity. The path forward would not be easy, but for the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope. With Amanda guiding my case, we shifted from defense to offense. First, we documented every instance of financial fraud committed by Sophia: the forged signature on the second mortgage, the unauthorized credit card charges, the emptied joint accounts. Each piece of evidence strengthened our legal position and built toward potential criminal charges. Amanda suggested we search for patterns in Sophia's past. "People who engage in this level of deception rarely do it for the first time," she explained. We created a social media campaign carefully worded to avoid defamation, while seeking others who might have experienced similar situations with Sophia. The responses were illuminating. A former boyfriend from her college days came forward, sharing how she had drained his student loan account before suddenly ending their relationship. A previous employer described how she had been fired for expense account fraud, but avoided charges by repaying the money. Each story revealed a pattern of exploitation, followed by abandonment when resources were exhausted. The most shocking discovery came when Amanda hired a European investigator who specialized in financial fraud. This investigator uncovered that Marcus was not the wealthy businessman Sophia had believed. He had created a facade of success while accumulating massive debt. The luxury apartment in Barcelona was rented, not owned, and his supposed investment portfolio did not exist. Marcus had been running his own confidence scheme, targeting successful businesswomen like Sophia. It was almost poetic. The woman who had abandoned me for what she thought was a more affluent lifestyle had herself been deceived by a practiced con artist. This revelation would soon catalyze the unraveling of her carefully constructed new life. 4 months after Sophia's disappearance, karma delivered its first strike. My European investigator reported significant turmoil in Barcelona. Marcus had discovered Sophia having an affair with his business partner Carlos. Their dramatic confrontation had occurred in a popular restaurant witnessed by many of Marcus's business associates. During the argument, Marcus had apparently accused Sophia of stealing his watch collection and accessing his private financial records. Whether these accusations were true or simply Marcus projecting his own deceptive nature was unclear. What mattered was the outcome. Marcus publicly cut ties with Sophia, leaving her without the financial support she had come to depend on. Within days, Sophia reached out to me for the first time since her departure. Her email was masterfully manipulative, filled with apologies and claims that she had made a terrible mistake. She wrote about missing our life together and realizing that what we had was real and valuable. She never mentioned Marcus or acknowledged the financial devastation she had left behind. The email concluded with her intention to return to Seattle to work things out. Amanda advised me not to respond. She is not coming back because she regrets hurting you, she warned. She is coming back because her other option failed. Respond only through legal channels. Though difficult, I followed her advice, forwarding the email to Amanda without sending Sophia any reply. With Sophia planning to return to American soil, Amanda saw an opportunity. We coordinated with the bank investigating the mortgage fraud and the credit card companies pursuing charges of identity theft. Amanda also contacted the district attorney's office with our substantial evidence of multiple financial crimes. When Sophia landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, she texted me again, asking if I would pick her up. Instead, she was met by investigators who served her with legal papers for fraud, identity theft, and financial crimes. Her shock was captured in security footage that would later be shown in court. The woman who thought she was returning to manipulate her way back into my life was instead facing the consequences of her actions. Sophia's arrest made local news, with several outlets picking up the story of international deception. The public humiliation she had hoped to avoid by fleeing to Europe now followed her return. Our mutual friends who had remained neutral or sided with her were forced to confront the truth about who she really was. The legal proceedings moved quickly with the mountain of evidence we had accumulated. Sophia's attorney attempted to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecution, armed with testimonies from her previous victims and documentation of the sophisticated nature of her crimes, pushed for maximum penalties. In an unexpected turn, Marcus contacted Amanda offering to testify against Sophia. His business had collapsed following their public breakup, and he claimed Sophia had indeed stolen valuable items and compromised his business relationships. While Marcus himself was not innocent, his testimony provided crucial details about Sophia's activities in Spain that strengthened the prosecution's case. During pre-trial motions, evidence emerged that Sophia had been planning to clean out our remaining assets upon her return, with airline searches for one-way tickets to South America found on her laptop. She had never intended reconciliation. I had been targeted for a final financial extraction before she disappeared permanently. As the case progressed toward trial, the full extent of Sophia's deceptions became public record. The woman who had carefully maintained an image of professional success and moral virtue was revealed as a calculating predator who had repeatedly used romantic relationships for financial gain. The contrast between her public persona and private actions was so stark that several media outlets ran features on relationship fraud, using our case as a primary example. For me, watching Sophia's carefully constructed world collapse brought complicated feelings. There was vindication in seeing the truth exposed, but also lingering grief for the relationship I had believed in so completely. Each court appearance forced me to confront both the woman I had loved and the stranger she truly was. Throughout this process, Amanda remained not just my attorney, but my anchor. Her unwavering belief in the importance of justice helped me navigate the emotional turbulence. Our professional relationship gradually evolved into friendship as we spent hours preparing for court appearances and responding to legal maneuvers from Sophia's defense team. The turning point came when Sophia, facing overwhelming evidence and the prospect of a lengthy trial, accepted a plea agreement. She would serve jail time for the financial crimes, make full restitution, and forfeit all assets acquired with fraudulently obtained funds. The Spanish authorities also filed charges related to financial crimes committed in their jurisdiction. Standing in that courtroom as the judge accepted the plea, I felt something shift inside me. The anger and betrayal that had consumed me for months began to transform into something else, something that might eventually resemble peace. The system had worked. Justice, not revenge, had prevailed. As Sophia was led away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one last time. In her eyes, I saw not remorse for the pain she had caused, but regret for her own downfall. That look confirmed what Amanda had told me from the beginning. Sophia's apologies had never been about my feelings, only about her needs. In that moment, I knew with certainty that I was finally free. The legal victory marked a turning point in my recovery, but rebuilding my life would require more than courtroom success. With the criminal case concluded, we turned our attention to the civil proceedings to recover my financial losses. The court ordered full restitution from Sophia, including the seized assets from Spain. The luxury items she had purchased with our savings were auctioned off, with proceeds going toward repaying the fraudulent debts she had created in my name. Marcus testified during the restitution hearings, revealing how Sophia had planned to scam him as well. He described finding documents on her laptop detailing his finances and a timeline for liquidating his assets. She was not running toward me, he admitted in court. She was running from him toward what she thought was a better opportunity. She would have done the same to me, eventually. His testimony removed any lingering doubt about the calculated nature of her betrayal. As the legal battles concluded, I faced the daunting task of emotional recovery. The experience had fundamentally changed how I viewed relationships and trust. With encouragement from my therapist, I started a support network for victims of relationship fraud, creating the resource I had desperately needed when my own crisis began. This initiative connected me with others who understood the unique pain of betrayal by someone you completely trusted. Our monthly meetings provided both practical advice on recovery and emotional support from people who truly understood. What began as 5 people in a community center grew to an online community of hundreds within 6 months. Professionally, the ordeal sparked unexpected growth. During my darkest days, I had coded late into the night as a way to distract my mind from endless rumination. Those sleepless nights produced a security application designed to protect individuals from identity theft and financial fraud by loved ones. I partnered with a cybersecurity firm to develop this concept into a viable product, channeling my painful experience into something that could protect others. My startup caught the attention of investors who recognized the growing market for relationship security tools. Within a year, what had begun as a coping mechanism became a thriving business with a clear mission. The company's success brought not just financial security but a sense of purpose I had lost when my marriage collapsed. Throughout this transformation, Amanda remained a constant presence in my life. What began as a professional relationship evolved naturally as we spent time together outside the legal context. She attended the first meeting of my support group, offering free legal advice to participants. I consulted on the legal aspects of my security application. Neither of us acknowledged the growing connection between us for months, both cautious about crossing professional boundaries. It was during the company launch party, watching Amanda passionately explain the importance of financial protection to potential investors, that I recognized my feelings had grown beyond friendship. Her intelligence, integrity, and compassion had become central to my new life. When I finally asked her to dinner not to discuss legal matters, her smile told me she had been waiting for this shift. Our relationship developed slowly, built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared values. Unlike the whirlwind romance with Sophia, this connection grew deliberately, with clear communication and careful attention to building trust. Meanwhile, karma continued its work on Sophia. Her carefully crafted reputation was permanently destroyed, with news of her crimes appearing in both American and Spanish media. Former colleagues and friends publicly distanced themselves. The marketing industry, which values integrity and trustworthiness, essentially blacklisted her. The professional network she had spent years cultivating vanished overnight. During her sentencing hearing, Sophia finally offered what appeared to be a genuine apology. With tears streaming down her face, she acknowledged the pain she had caused, not just to me, but to everyone who had trusted her. Whether this represented true remorse or another performance remained unclear, but it no longer mattered to me. I had moved beyond needing her recognition of the damage she had caused. The final karmic blow came when international authorities seized the Spanish villa she had purchased with Marcus using my money. The property, along with her designer wardrobe and jewelry collection, was auctioned to pay restitution to her victims. The life she had abandoned me to pursue literally sold to the highest bidder. 2 years after Sophia vanished with that brief note, I stood in a very different life than the one I had planned. The dream home we had shared was sold, the proceeds divided according to the divorce settlement. I had moved into a modern apartment downtown, closer to my company's office. The walls held new memories and no ghosts. The journey from victim to survivor to advocate had transformed me in ways I could never have anticipated. The pain Sophia inflicted became the catalyst for personal and professional growth I might never have achieved in our comfortable but stagnant marriage. The betrayal that once defined me now existed as just one chapter in a much longer story. Learning to trust again happened gradually, with Amanda's patience and understanding. We built our relationship on transparency, maintaining separate finances and clear boundaries. The lessons from my past did not prevent me from loving again, but informed how I approached vulnerability and commitment. What I ultimately realized is that sometimes losing everything becomes the path to finding what truly matters. The collapse of my marriage forced me to examine what I truly valued and how I wanted to live. The material losses, while significant, freed me from a life built on false promises and shallow values. The greatest insight came when I recognized that revenge had never been what I needed. Justice, yes, but more importantly, personal growth and reclaiming my own narrative. Forgiveness, when it finally came, was not a gift to Sophia, but to myself, releasing the anger that had threatened to define my future. Looking forward, I no longer fear betrayal as I once did. The security I feel comes not from controlling circumstances, but from knowing I can survive even the worst deceptions. This hard-earned wisdom has brought a genuine hope and optimism about the future that feels more substantial than the naive happiness of my earlier life. Has karma ever delivered justice in your life when you least expected it? Comment below and share your experience. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that even after complete betrayal, rebuilding is possible. Thank you for listening to my journey from devastation to redemption. Remember, sometimes what feels like the end is really just the beginning of something better.